what you're going through is not who you are. You are way more worthy than that. Don't live in that darkness.
Welcome to the Legacy and Light podcast, where we are creating a culture of community by sharing stories of what God has done. I'm Allie Maddox, your host for today's episode, and we have a really great guest on today. I love her so much. She's a great friend of mine. We have Arielle Moussa. Yay.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. I'm so excited.
It's fun.
I've never done anything like this before. I listen to podcasts, but I've never done this, so this is very new for me.
It's so fun. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy work week. I appreciate that. I know y'all are busy.
Yeah, we're
All
chilling,
time.
making a staff lunch tomorrow. What's up?
So tell me a little bit about you, and where would people in the congregation, where would we see you serving the church throughout?
Okay, so I lead worship with Allie here. My favorite people, David and Allie. I get to lead with them, and it's so awesome. So that's kind of where I started here at the church, was, in the worship and everything. But most of what people know me as now is working in the kitchen. I lead that whole team. We do our Wednesday meals, so you'll see me doing the Wednesday meals. We also do a lot of other catering events. So basically, that 80% of what goes on here that involves food, I'm your girl. My team and I, we're the ones handling it. And if that's not what I'm doing, it's usually going to be here on Sunday mornings with you and David and the team. And I love it. It's kind of like my little small group,
That's awesome. Yeah.
I am working so much, doing all these events, and I love it. But I love getting an opportunity to kind of have that time with you guys too. So
Yeah. I know we are so grateful for everything you are doing in the kitchen, because it is truly something that we all look forward to anytime we get to eat here, which is pretty great. So thank you for just taking that and making it your ministry. And
I love it. I feel like you can reach people through food. That's what I've told people. This ministry might just be like eating, but you can honestly, having a meal with someone in that community, you can reach people, and show them who Jesus is just by sharing a meal sometimes. So it's a very important part of that kind of aspect of community and fellowship. So I love it. I love being a part of it.
it's the Baptist way, right?
It is. I mean, who doesn't love a good potluck? That's what I remember,
I'm all for it. Let's do a potluck. I know we've talked about that a little bit before.
Oh my gosh, I've
Figure it out.
already pitched it. It's happening next year. We're gonna do one.
3,000 person potluck?
Yes, it's in the works next year. This time next year, last Wednesday meal. That's what
amazing.
I'm working on. So
I need to prepare what I want to make now, so it's really good in a year.
Yeah. Start practicing. Okay. It's gonna be fun. Everyone's gonna get their time to shine. It's gonna be so much fun.
I love
I'm
that.
super excited about it.
That makes me so happy.
So.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love potlucks. Okay.
Me too.
Well, moving on. Okay, so tell me about your life before you accepted Jesus.
So I grew up in Ruidoso, New Mexico. And when I was about 2 is actually when we moved there. So I lived with my mom and my brother growing up. Before, going way back, my dad left when I was about 5 or 6. There was some abuse happening in that area of my life, between my mom and dad. And so that was kind of a tumultuous time where he ended up leaving. And so it was just my mom kind of raising us 2 kids by herself. She had 3 or 4 jobs at the time, just kind of struggling to make ends meet. And so that's kind of the beginnings of my story. I'm sure right, we're millennials. We grew up in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
In the 90s too, there was that movement of kind of Jesus freak movement, I guess. And my mom, I mean, thankfully, she was clinging to that. And because she was experimenting with a lot of different ideologies and, different religions.
Mm-hmm.
And she finally came to find the Lord through kind of that movement of that Jesus freak movement. There was different music coming out, things that were really, I don't know, capturing her heart. And she really liked that. So she actually started taking my brother and I to church. And at that time, like, she had gotten remarried, and so it became another tumultuous time, right? 'Cause, at that point, I have a stepdad who's, kind of more so doing things to my brother and I along that abuse as well. And so it was a time that, thank the Lord, she did bring us to church and everything, but gosh, I was, like, 8 whenever I accepted the Lord, and mostly it was because, right, like, everyone's like, "Everything's gonna be good, everything's fine, you're just gonna walk down this aisle, it's gonna be no big deal." It's kind of more of a pressure
Mm.
to
Yeah.
accept the Lord. I was 8, I didn't really know what was going on. I did know that I felt lost, I felt sad, I felt like, no one was on my side. Things were happening behind the scenes that even my mom didn't trust what was going on with me, like, reaching out to her didn't work, so I kind of felt, like, very lonely when I at that point in my life. And so that was a lot of what happened with all that, and then as I got older, um, I still went to church, right? Because I was just like there was something about being in that community and that family that kinda helped me really find the Lord, I guess,
Mhm.
in certain ways. I don't know. There was just I didn't really know anything about it. My mom was very new to it, but that's kind of a little bit about the beginnings before I knew the Lord. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
But
great.
mhm.
So you're starting to you were going to church, but and you accepted the Lord, but you weren't sure. Yeah, like when did it become that like you kind of grew into that of like, okay, I do want the Lord in my life and I want Jesus to be.
Yeah, so, right, like, from the time that my mom got remarried around the time that I was 9 to about 16, right, like, I had been told all my life, this is kind of as uncomfortable as I was in every situation, as uncomfortable as I felt, I was told that's how a father treats a child. That's just how it is. I mean, that is how a daughter is supposed to be treated. And I had a dad who walked out when I was very young, so I didn't know any different. And so for me, going to church and my mom taking me to church and seeing and hearing about a father who loves you and and treats you in a way that I wasn't treated at home was really eye-opening for me. It took me a long time actually to
Mhm.
come to terms with that because, when you're going through something like that, it tends to bring on a wave of emotions of unworthiness and sadness. And
Yeah.
I went in and out of counseling and, depression as like a 9, 10-year-old, and so it was hard because, you're told one thing at church, but then you experiencing something else at home, and it's very, very difficult to draw the line, like, what is uh, it's hard to explain, but, whenever I was about 16, I went to a youth camp,
Mhm.
and I remember this like it was yesterday because, I was kind of at the wit's end of, like, what was going on in my household. At that point, probably when I was about 14 backwards, I kinda came to a point where I was just like, "No one's out for me. No one wants me. No one cares." You know, it's me and myself in this world. I'm just gonna have to figure that out, and I came to a point where that was it for me. Like, I was just fine being by myself. I went to that youth camp, and a guy named Brent Gambrell, I still remember his name, he was speaking, and he was the one speaking, but it was one of those moments where I really felt like it wasn't him speaking, where it felt like my I was hearing my life as I felt, and like, even it just felt like he was just, like, talking to me, and it was a very, very powerful moment in my life where I was just like so, like I said, I felt really unworthy, I felt really sad, depressed. It was kinda like a woe is me moment, but
Mhm.
then that kinda made me realize, there is a father who loves me. I am worthy, and if he can forgive me and how I feel in my doubt and my unworthiness and my sadness, if he's able to take on these burdens that I'm experiencing, who am I to, like, not just
Mm.
forgive and move on, and, you don't it's not something that's easy to do, but yeah, at that night, actually, he was like, "If anyone is here and you just feel the Spirit moving and you've never accepted the Lord." And I had thought I did,
Mhm.
but it was at that moment I realized I don't really feel like I did. Like, I feel like I need to I just need to make a change. And
Mhm.
so that was the night that I accepted the Lord, and a week later I got baptized
Mm.
in our church. And from then on, I just felt like finally there was someone in my life. There was a savior who literally came and saved me and changed me. And, I never felt like, obviously, we're human. We're going to feel burdens of sadness and
Mhm.
depression sometimes and guilt. That's not things that go away, but now I have a way to fight that and a savior who fights it
Mhm.
with me and goes before me. And it's amazing. So it was kind of the turning point in my life
Yeah.
when I was about 16.
Gosh, I mean, those are really heavy things and feelings for a 16-year-old to be like, "Okay, I need to work through forgiveness of someone," like, you were not the adult in that situation, and so that kind of the Lord revealing that to you is pretty spectacular.
Mhm.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it really was an incredible moment. Like, I will never forget Brent Gambrell and that night. Like, I finally felt like changed in ways I had never felt changed. Like where I didn't feel alone. I was walking through this sad, lonely place where
Mhm.
I know my mom loves me. Her and I have a good relationship now. My dad and I do. I don't talk to the stepdad, but I have forgiven him. So it's just been a long road of just forgiveness and realizing, we're all gonna mess up and trying to be a better mom to my
Mhm.
kids too. But it's incredible to have that moment
Mhm.
with forgiveness. So
Yeah. Yeah. So after that moment, walk me through the next few years of high school, maybe graduating right after that. What happens?
so yeah, things like, I'm still dealing with things at home, and it was also another wild moment, like, my my mom ended up leaving my stepdad for a couple weeks, and, we ended up he ended up getting back into the house, but nothing ever happened again after that moment. It was, so some sense of light came from it where, nothing happened anymore, so I was able to kind of move on with my life and, know that everything was gonna be okay at least for a couple years, while I'm still there, and, um, yeah, I went to, after high school, I ended up going to Criswell Bible College because I was like, I wanna be in worship ministry for the rest of my life, like, I love this so much. I was actually after that youth camp, I started singing our praise team at youth group. I had the best time, so I was like, "This is what I wanna do forever," like, so I went to Criswell Bible College, in Dallas, and it was so much fun. I met some of the greatest people there, and then, I don't know, slowly I realized I don't know what I wanna do here.
Mhm.
But I was staying because I was like, "Okay, well, right, I'm in college, doing the college thing. It'll come to me, I'm at Bible college. Maybe I just wanna do biblical studies. I don't
Mhm.
know, but I wanna do something in
Yeah.
ministry."
Yeah.
I was
Figure
like,
it out.
"I'll figure it out." And then I met my husband when I was 18. I his mom and my mom were best friends, and so we met in the middle of Criswell. And then, man, I had no intention of meeting my person, but it happened. And that's another miraculous story for another time, but, like, it was just such a cool story. Him and I have I feel like it's a very cool story of how the Lord, like, changes people for the better. Anyways, I met him, stopped going to Criswell. I was like, "Okay," and I got married when I was, just newly 20. So we got engaged when I was 19, just newly 20, got married, and then about a few months later, I had my son. By that, I mean a few months, I mean, like, after 9 months, whatever, but, like, it seemed like a few months.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
We got married at, like, 20, and then by the time I turned 21, I had a baby, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." Yeah, and he was in the military, so we lived in San Diego, and now we have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old girl.
Wild.
So, I know. I know, it's wild. But, yeah, that's kind of, like, where I ended up and how I ended up here, just he was a military, so it was Navy, and, he used his GI Bill for tech, and that's kinda how we ended up here in Lubbock.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah.
So, when you were let's see, you got married and then had your son, were you by yourself with him? Was Mo with you, or did he have to go back and serve?
So we moved to San Diego together, and then he had to still be, like, on the ship and everything, but he, and didn't end up deploying till Tarek was about 9 months old. And so at that point, Tracy, so she works here. There's just like a whole train of people that just came out into Lubbock, But yeah, she works here. She's my mother-in-law. She
Mhm.
works over there in the pastoral, and she came and lived with me and my sister-in-law. And so I
Wow, that's awesome.
thankfully was not by
Yeah.
myself when I had my first, my first baby and kind of alone during deployment, but thankfully they were there. And so that was really fun. Tara got to grow up, with her there, and
Yeah.
even though my husband was gone, he still got to see him know that he was okay with and I was
Mhm.
okay, so it was
Mhm.
great. Yeah.
Oh, that's
We love San Diego, it's beautiful.
yeah. Y'all go back?
Oh, man, we have not been back since we left, and that was in, 2014, I think, is when we moved, but, yeah, it's amazing. I keep telling Brian and Amy, I'm like, we're gonna go see you guys."
We're gonna go
And
see you.
they're like, "We still haven't, but we'll get there."
Far away.
It is very
It's
far
quite
away. We used to
quite a
drive.
ways. Wow. How long is that?
So, yeah, we would drive from, Marble Falls, which is where, right where everything happened, after Ruidoso, we moved to Texas, Marble Falls, and so we would drive from Marble Falls to San Diego, and it was, 21 hours. Yeah, and we would, it was terrible. And I had a baby at the time, right? He's
Fabulous.
baby, and my husband liked to drive straight through too. Yeah.
How?
Yeah, I don't know. We survived though.
Wow. My goodness.
'Cause it's so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we
Let's
would
just
sleep
get
in
it
the
done.
car, we would get out,
Yeah.
feed Tarek, change Tarek, go back, keep going, it was hard, but we did it, it was fine.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So then y'all ended up back here. Y'all
Yeah.
came back or not back here, y'all ended up in Lubbock for him to go to tech.
Mhm.
And then what were you doing? Were you staying at home with your kids? Were you working?
Yeah, so I was staying at home with my kids, because, right, preschool is really expensive.
'Tis.
Yeah. Daycare is way too pricey. Also, I didn't have a degree in anything, I kinda left college, so it was one of those things where I was just like, "Well, if I can't beat them, join them." I went to work in KDOs and the daycare kinda
Mhm.
thing, because I was like, I don't want someone else raising my kids, I'd rather raise them myself and kinda be there, and I'm just very clingy. So, I ended up working in KDO and PDO while I was here, and he went to tech and everything,
Okay.
and, it how we ended up at Southcrest, though, is I worked in the KDO not KDO, sorry, I did MOPS here.
Oh, yeah.
Back when they had
Mhm.
MOPS, I, heard from a friend of mine because I was trying to fill my days, Monday through Friday because my husband's in school. I need an income of some sort, so I was doing Monday through Friday, and I found MOPS here who met Fridays from a friend of mine, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll work there," and I came to pick up one of my last checks because we had aged out, and, I had all these ladies just swarm me, and they were like, "Where do you go to church? What do you do? Where do you go to church?" And I was like, I don't know." At the time, we were kind of going to Redbud, and then we were, kind of back and forth from Victory Life and
Okay.
Bacon
Yeah.
Heights, and we were just, unsure of where we
Mhm.
wanted to plant ourselves, and
Mhm.
so
Hadn't quite found your community yet.
yeah, I hadn't really found a community, so we were just kind of all over the place, and when I told them that, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna love it here. It's the best place ever." You should I'm telling you, 4 or 5
Wow,
people.
that's awesome.
It was in the business office too, just swarmed me and just "You're gonna love this, you're gonna love this, you're gonna love this," and I was like, "Oh, okay." That's at the time the worship center was just being built too.
Right.
And so for us, we came from a small church and very small church. And so to see something so big, we were like, I don't know. I don't know about going there. That's like way too big for us, you know? And so we ended up going to Bacon Heights and we were like, oh, this is cool. I mean, the community there is very great.
Mhm.
Victory was very great. We loved both, but something like them being so warm and inviting and comforting, I was like, why don't we just go try out Southwest? Let's just go try. And my husband was like, it's so big there. And I was like, I know, but let's just go try it. I mean, what do we have to lose?
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're just trying out churches. Why don't we try it? And we just fell in love. First day. I mean, Pastor David and his sermon, and then we'd never seen worship like that before, ever. And so we were like, this is amazing. We're just in love.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So y'all started coming here.
Mhm. Mhm.
So what happened in the next few years of you transitioning to being the chef?
No. So, yeah, when we first started coming here, we were like, gosh, it'd be like, because, you know, my husband's a musician. He loves guitar. He loves drums. And we were like, man, it'd be kind of cool to be a part of a worship like that. And we were like, yeah, yeah. But we kind of just like, we wanted it to happen organically and naturally. And we wanted to also just focus on being a part of the church and, you know, being involved in small groups and
Mhm.
doing that kind of thing. Because that was kind of the goal, is like, we want a community. Brian Jones and Amy Jones brought us a pie for pie night, right? So, like, I don't know if anyone knows about pie night, but, like, it works for me. Like, we, filled out the little thing, and Brian and Amy Jones, and Brian was, like, up there in the venue, they brought us the pie, and they had kids our kids' age, and they invited us to their small group, and that's kinda, like, where we started kind of developing the community aspect, and we just
Mhm.
really loved it. Like, our kids were just really tight with their kids, and we love the small group. I mean, we would go to all the small group functions. It was really, really fun. And so really enjoyed that. And then like fast forward, you know, helping lead in the venue, which was awesome. Like we were like, this is so cool. Like Brian found out that my husband played guitar and it like all went there. Like
Bet.
you find out someone plays an instrument. It's like,
Like,
okay,
yeah,
we
that's
have a
what we're
spot for
doing.
you. Yeah. So it like kind of happened in that way. And so then, you know, I started not only developing community between my small group and all the, you know, events that we would go to, but I started developing community within like the worship team and the people who attend the venue. And so Kat, right? Like at this time, I'm still doing KDO and PDO with my kids. And Kat, I used to actually have Griffin when he was like a baby. Like he was in my like aftercare class. He was
Aw.
a baby in like the baby room, and I had the baby room during the day because I was a floater. And so I've known Kat longer than I've known anybody here. Like I've known her for forever. And she started kind of putting bugs in everyone's ear, like, hey, there's this girl who goes to South Crest, and she also watches my baby, but she's posting these pictures on Instagram and she can cook. And so then like word got around, Kat's like blabbing to everybody, right? Which I love. I love that. And then Danny comes up to me one Sunday. He's like, I heard you cook. And I was like, how do you know?
Yeah, like
Was it Kat? But yeah, so it kind of came around the grapevine. And at the time, they were really struggling, I guess, like, because there wasn't that many people in the kitchen, and there was just, you know, they wanted to kind of revamp the whole thing and
Mhm.
kind of see where they could take that ministry. So I had Jack Louder and Gabe approach me and ask, like, hey, would you like to be a part of this kitchen? And I was like, bro, I have only ever fed, like, 4 people in my life. Like, you are asking the wrong girl. Like, they're like, "Oh, yeah, we just feed 100 something people." And I was like, "Oh, I don't do
I
that." Like, I don't
do
like, I see people at church and they have this misconception that I've, like, you know, like, "Where'd you go to school? Where'd you get
Yeah,
trained?" I'm like, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I own it, you know, it's just kinda like
sure.
it's kinda like one of those things, like, how we were talking about earlier with the testimony, you know, like, it's part of my story. It's
Mhm.
not who I am, right? Like, that is it's part of my story, though. It's part of my journey. You know,
Mhm.
I used to, like with that part of my testimony, I used to think, like, "Man, I really wish all those things didn't happen to me," right? Like, I wish that didn't happen, but it's part of my journey.
Mhm.
And I wish I could have gone to school and gotten a culinary degree. That sounds awesome, but it's not part of who I am. It's not part of my journey. Like, this is part of my story.
Yeah.
And so, like, my past and how it was, like, that is part of who I am. That is not who I am. It's not who Jesus says I am.
Mhm.
He says I'm worthy and loved, and what I was feeling at that point was not those things. But it's also something I own it, right? Like, this is it's part of who I am, my journey, my story. And so my culinary journey is the same way, where it's just like, I was not I didn't know, but I was like, "Are you sure? You sure you want me?" And so it's kind of like another one of those things where it's like a miracle in itself because I had no idea, y'all. The first time that I fed, um, I think it was my first Wednesday, I fed chicken enchilada casserole, which is right, like super easy. I thought we were gonna see 120 people like we usually see, and I was scared to death of that. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
120 people, oh my gosh. Oh, but, I thought we were gonna see that many people, and I was like, "Oh, I'm prepared. I think I can do this." And we saw way more. So then we had to cut servings, which was awesome. It was a good problem to have, but it was like, I didn't know how to pivot from that, you
Yeah.
know? Um, but after it was all over and everyone got fed, like 5 loaves and fishes, like, "Let's go,"
Mhm.
I went out to my car and I just bawled my eyes out. Like, I was so overwhelmed with emotion, it was insane. Um, I just couldn't believe that, like I could believe, like, I've seen it before done in my life whenever Jesus changed my life around coming out of that very dark, abusive place in my life, and then, it's like he showed me again, because for years, I guess, you come to a place of, like, stagnant and, like, "I can do this,"
Mhm.
and then, like, when you realize, like, that the Lord has put me somewhere I don't know anything, so I had to rely on him fully,
Yeah.
like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why you put me here."
Yeah.
If you had asked me whenever I was 15 years old if I was gonna be doing this, no, I would not be doing this. Um, yeah, I just cried. I just cried because I was overwhelmed with just, like, joyfulness, happiness, just like, wow, how God can just take someone who just doesn't know anything and just fully equip them to do this it was insane, like, the amount of gratitude that I felt in that moment. I still remember that day. I was just bawling. And it wasn't because I was like, "Oh, I hate this job." It was
Yeah.
just like "No, this how did you do that?" It was just pure just, "How did you do that?" And then fast forward to now, we're feeding 800 people, and I still feel the same way. Like, I'm like,
800 people from 125?
"Yes." So, it's like and I still feel the same way. I'm just like, "How?" Overwhelming gratitude of just like, "No, I was not trained to do this," but the Lord is funny like that. He knows what He's like, "I'm gonna put you here." And I'm like, "Really?" Really?
Sure.
Okay. But yeah, that's kinda how all that happened.
No, I think that's beautiful. David talks a lot my husband David talks a lot about, taking risks, but in faith of what God's gonna do,
Mhm.
and if you hadn't not but, like, the fact that you were like, "Okay, yeah, I can do this. God's got me. Let's try it. Let's do it.
It's
Like,
gonna
why
be
not?"
fine. Yeah.
Like, and now look at what God's been able to do in that, and so I just think that is just another testament of we can do hard things, and it is just like, God can use us in literally whatever way He wants. Even if we
Yes.
don't feel like we went to school for it or trained for it, or I'm not the most eloquent speaker or whatever, but, like, if He wants to use you, let Him use you.
Yeah.
How cool it is that you've let Him use you.
I love it. Like I said, I thought that I was like, "I'm gonna do worship ministry." Like, I had this whole plan for myself, and then I was like,
Which you are a
"Then I'm gonna"
fabulous worship leader,
Oh,
so that's
and I love doing it. What I do love is I love that, like, God has given me, this gift to cook that I didn't know I
Mhm.
had, but, like, this gift to cook and lead a team and do things that I would never have pictured myself to do, but also, like, that He still allows me to be a part of that as well, like, worship and
Yeah.
everything. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, like, I get to love what I do all the time. It's amazing that not a lot of people are blessed to be able to do what they love for their job
Yeah.
and what they love, like, even at all the time. Like, I get to be a mother, a wife, worship leader. Like, this is too much of a blessed life. And I'm like, wow, like, it's just incredible. Like I said, I've had all the emotions over the years.
Yeah. If you have any words of encouragement for people that are either kind of walking through the things that you've gone through, whether that is walking through forgiveness for people that you're not sure about, or just especially at young ages, or stepping into a calling that's terrifying and you're not sure about, what would you say to those people? Yeah, what would be your pieces of encouragement for those people?
Yeah. So I was just talking to, Hadley down there. She's one of my team members. And I was like, man, I'm just so nervous. Part of my testimony, I mean, like I was telling you this earlier, like it's very gritty, it's very heavy. And man, it's been hard for me to talk about for a long time. Nobody wants to talk about that kind of stuff, right? And so I told her, I was like, man, whenever I was her age, sharing my testimony was hard because I would just say, well, I went to a church one day and the next day I was saved.
Yeah.
Like that was it. But I've kind of learned throughout the years to just like I was telling you earlier, like if it is what I went through, and I don't wish that for anybody. I protect my kids at all costs because of it. I have a lot of trust issues in that. So but it's part of like my story. And I wish I could change that part. But or I wish for a long time I could. But now I'm realizing that like no, like he's still good even going through that. It's not what you've been through, it's how you overcome it and how you know, you can look at it 2 ways.
Mm.
You can live in the darkness and stay there, or you can choose to be brought out of it and choose every single day to live your life in forgiveness and trust in the Lord. You can do that. It's your choice. And so, if you've I guess what I would say is, like, if you've gone through any of that, it's heavy stuff, like, I get it, I have to it's still stuff I have to deal with every day, and it's been, like, 20 years. It's still stuff I have to deal with every day, but I'm constantly reminded of the Lord's, sorry, of the Lord's goodness and faithfulness and love in my life, and He's never not come through for me, like, in so many ways, so I'm just like, it is not who you are. What you're going through is not who you are. It is not. Like, you are way more worthy than that. And so, just don't hold like, I guess don't live in that darkness.
Mm. Yeah.
Is not who you are. Is not who he says you are, you know?
Yeah.
You are who he says you are, and you are worthy and loved, and you can conquer anything. So, and then for the, doing something that you're, like, not sure about, right? Like, just embrace it. Like, it would've been so easy for me to just be like, "No, I don't think I want to. Oh, I don't know if I can do that." But, you know, through all things, right? Like,
Mhm.
you can do it. You can do it. If this is what the Lord has called you to, just step out in faith and do it. I'm telling you, the overwhelming gratitude and joyfulness that you get out of that is incredible. Just like forgiveness, right? Like it sets you free.
Yeah.
And so just go out in faith, step out in faith, forgive and be faithful,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, and we love you so much.
I love
I'm
it.
so grateful for you.
Thanks.
We'll see y'all next time.